Perfect. Thank you, everyone, for coming back from lunch. And it is, for me, this is the culmination of a cross-Canada tour of the Northside Hip Hop Archive and all the projects that we're doing. And it is my distinct pleasure at this moment now to introduce Ron Nelson, our keynote speaker. And he's really, the fourth leg on a relay. It's usually Bolt, the best runner. So we are on the fourth leg of the relay here. And Ron Nelson is a pioneering and award-winning Jamaican-Canadian DJ, radio personality, concert promoter, website developer, online broadcaster, and educator. With the creation of the groundbreaking and visionary Fantastic Voyage radio program, initially it was a funk music show on Canada's then flagship community radio station, CKLN 88.1 FM, Ron introduced Canada's airwaves to the then still emergent multidisciplinary subculture of hip-hop. In 1985, Ron graduated with honors from Ryerson's radio and television program, which is the department I'm in now here, obtaining a Bachelor's of Applied Arts degree. During his student years, he interned at the legendary rock radio station Q107, where he developed his passion for radio. Ron fell in love with hip-hop music during his studies at Ryerson and began his career hosting and producing the Fantastic Voyage on CKLN, which was Canada's first hip-hop radio show. Prior to the licensing of mainstream black music stations, the Fantastic Voyage would play a major role in launching the careers of popular Canadian artists Maestro Fresh West, Mishi Me, and Rumble and Strong. I'm pretty sure there's more there. The legacy of the Fantastic Voyage program continues to reverberate into the present day, built on more than 30 years of original programming on community, commercial, and internet radio stations. Ron's commitment to broadening the audience for hip-hop has also taken Ron to the airwaves on Buffalo's WBLK 93.7 FM. After cultivating a thriving hip-hop community in Toronto and across Canada, Ron Nelson Productions was established with a clear mandate to put Toronto on the map. During the golden age of hip-hop, Ron Nelson Productions presented noteworthy local and international artists to the public. Among them were, ready? Run DMC, Public Enemy, Boogie Down Productions, Ice Cube, Queen Latifah, Salt and Pepper, and I could name a whole bunch of other major mainstream hip-hop stars today that this man brought to Toronto in the 1980s. Ron Nelson is also one of the first black music producers to embrace new media technology during its infancy. First building his own home-based professional recording studios, Apache Recording Studio, and creating advanced music productions. In 1988, after being shaken by a murder that happened after an event in Toronto's Flemington Park community, Ron Nelson released his own 12-inch rap record. B-Boy Destruction was dedicated to the victim, young Clinton Marshall. Ron also created and produced the music for two tracks, Voyage Through the Multiverse and Journey On the 1991 smash Dream Warriors LP. And those guys came out last night to pay respects, which was wonderful. And now the legacy, their 1991 LP, which was called And Now the Legacy Begins. Since 2003, Ron Nelson has lectured at York University, a very popular professor there in the Faculty of Fine Arts Department of Music, where he teaches contemporary black urban music. In addition, he is heavily involved in the Toronto reggae scene now and the dancehall soundclash community as a leading concert promoter and proprietor of acclaimed website reggaemania.com and Reggaemania Radio. His contribution to the development of the dynamic Canadian urban music scene remains vital. Ron is a true visionary and a trailblazer, and help me welcome DJ Ron Nelson.
Honors and respect. So, first thing is I'm very overwhelmed by all this attention, and it goes back to the same old thing. You know, when you're doing all these things, you don't really know you're making history, as they say. You don't really know that when years go by and people grow up and mature. I'll tell you what I mean. Back in the days when I was doing my thing, I was telling someone this yesterday. You know, it wasn't always like it is today. You didn't get a lot of love. You got a lot of hate, a lot of fight. People used to come up to me all the time, say, "Ron, man, nice show, but you talk too much on the radio, man." You know, everywhere I go, and at one point you get so popular that when you go to do a school dance somewhere, you know, you get a bunch of kids from other schools trying to get into that school dance because you're playing there, and if they didn't get in, then 4 or 5 of them would surround your car and start shaking it up and as if they're going to turn it over, and you'd come back after the dance to put your records in the car and you see your tires are slashed. Jane and Finch people, you know what I mean? Like, I remember those school dances. But the funny thing is that today, now that I'm, you know, so I think they printed it, I'm 54 years old now. If I go to Scarborough Town Center or any mall and I see a brethren, I may not know him. He may be with his son or his daughter, and I might be walking with my son, minding my own business, but those kids that were there in those, you know, Jane Junior High schools and all the little high school dances, the early concert hall days, the early party center days, they've grown up now to be mothers and fathers, and they've matured, and they've grown up, and every single time it happens, my son is so impressed. He's like, "Dad, you know everybody." And I'm like, "Well, I don't really know those people, but they stop me from doing my shopping and they come up to me and they go, Ron, let me tell you something, man. Back then I was a troublemaker, okay? But I really appreciate what you did, man. Yo, I'm just saying respect now, man, you know?" And it means everything to me when people, you know, give me that love. And even though it's taken all this years for them to come around, the one thing that they all say is that those times are special. You can't bring them back. They cannot be regenerated, reinvented. That was a once in a lifetime experience where you see the dawning of a new kind of music, which was hip hop. And being there to experience the birth is like, if you're a father, it's like being there in the delivery room when your child is being born. And it's like a miracle. I don't think I've seen anything else come along since that's, again, paralleled the whole movement. So I'm excited to get this honor that I'm getting now because, like I said, back then it was just a lot of work and you didn't think about what you were doing. You were just doing it. So it's nice to get a little love, especially when you're live. Usually legends or you know, someone always say, show a man the respect when he's alive, not when he's dead. You know what I mean? So even though this whole thing is making me feel like I'm going to die soon, but I'm just saying thanks to Mark and for having the vision and all the people that are connected with his organization and his movement. The irony I was saying to Mark is that, you know, I went to Ryerson. This is where I took radio and TV, yet there seems to be this disconnect. And I think, too, that politically, CKLN is almost like a bad word now because even though it was a great radio station, there was so much politics and politics leading up to its implosion that it's almost like people are nervous around Ryerson to remember that that used to be their radio station. So today maybe they're trying to erase that memory. But it truly was a great radio station because in 1983, you didn't have the commercial radio stations that you have now that have chosen to play black music, right? CKLN was not a black radio station. It was just a school radio station that you could only hear in the hallways at the time at Ryerson. It didn't even have a signal that went out into the community. And little by little, things amplified. And when I got there, I just did my little part innocently. In Vic Park High School, I had built a radio station by hooking up some turntables and a mixer into our theater arts jetvac. It was like this room that looked like a DJ booth, and got some long speaker wires and wired them all the way down to where we all ate lunch in the cafeteria. And every morning, noon, and after school, I'd have all these different DJs, wannabe DJs, come and play music, and they'd have a microphone. It was my little DJ experience that enabled me to set up that makeshift radio station. But when I came here to apply for Ryerson for radio and TV, I think that really helped me get into the program, the fact that I'd done this. So I thought that was a really cool thing. So someone asked me a good question yesterday, a journalist. I don't know if she's here, but she said, you know, where did you come from in all this hip hop thing? Like, nobody seems to kind of recall where you were before hip hop. What landed you? Anybody know that answer here? See, nobody really. It's not like I was this b-boy, you know, like living the b-boy lifestyle and stuff like that. I was just the DJ, like so many people that we know, just a DJ who's young and who's passionate for music. And I love music that had a lot of bass, you know, snappy snare drums. It became hip hop. That's what I really loved, and funk. And because, and I want to say this is very important. Before me, there were people on the streets already playing the music. In retrospect, the reason why I'm standing here right now, the reason why I made a difference is because I was the first one, I guess, to take it to the radio and try and amplify it there. So CKLN deserves all the credit for having to help make me. Without that radio station, I couldn't have accomplished the things that I'm being honored for now. And I'm glad that they gave me that opportunity. And I like the fact that a community radio station, despite having a measly 250 watts, can have so much power and so much impact on people's lives. And again, people in this room have been coming up to me and saying, you know, if it wasn't for that show, if it wasn't for some of the things that you did, I wouldn't be into hip-hop right now, or I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. And every time I hear those testimonials, I just, you know, it just makes me feel really good that I've had an effect on people. So I guess sometimes it's a matter of, you know, your work ethic too, because it could have been easy just to leave it at the radio. So one of the things that I'm like my mom. My mom likes to please people. You know, I like to please people as well. So when people started calling into the radio station and not only wanting to hear the music, they're like, yo, man, can we see some of these people in concert? I look around and there's no one doing these concerts. I didn't have the expertise to do concerts. I didn't have an office, you know. It's just kind of, when the phone rings, I get up out of bed and I'm sitting there in my bedroom using that as my office all the time. Started doing these shows little by little by little, one by one, and seeing the smiles in people's faces. Next thing you know, it's Ron Nelson Productions. It's born, and we're doing concerts. And one of the coolest things about that is I found myself to be a little entrepreneur because I really love the whole Canadian movement. I'm proud of where I come from. I'm Jamaican born, but I live here now. And when I was on the radio, I was looking around and feeling sorry for the whole state of the Canadian hip-hop scene, the Canadian rap scene, because there was no infrastructure and everyone had this identity issue and this confidence issue. A lot of people were talking. I put out a record called B-Boy Destruction, but one of the reasons I did it was to be in everybody's face who was talking and who was rapping and who was running off their mouths about being the best rapper this and the best rapper this. But guess what? They were putting money into their clothes, their shoes, their houses, their girlfriends, their cars, but they didn't put out a friggin' record. So I'm saying, you know, you guys need to put out music right now. And while we had our identity problem, one of the other things that I recognize is, look, we need a platform for Canadian artists to shine. That's where the Monster Jams came from. I look around, who else is giving Canadian artists an opportunity to be the stars? So if you put a whole bunch of Canadian artists on stage, sometimes they don't draw. You only get like 50 people coming out. So one of the things I said was, maybe if I can bring some of these American artists up here and put them in concert, then Canadian artists can not just open for them, but we should have them battle against these American hip-hop artists. And that way we can get on the map that way. And it might have been, you know, a little premature for me to be thinking like that, but it actually worked. I think it actually worked. Because when America came up, they saw the quality of artists that we had. They thought it was a real hip hop territory up here. And it was just a beautiful thing. We kept trying to do that all the time. And eventually, again, years went by. And because of consistency and hard work and determination and focus, we started to like build a scene, I guess, build an industry. And when I'm talking about a lot of hard work, it was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of not just doing a radio show and leaving after that, but in order to create a brand and promote it and establish it, it meant a lot of nights where, you know, guys like DJ X and Mastermind and their girlfriends, these were all people who used to get in my car at 10 o'clock at night. I'd have 4 or 5 people in the car, and we would have 2011 by 17 flyers, posters, we call them, and we would literally drive from Markham and Finch all the way past Jane and Finch, and every major intersection that has a set of traffic lights, I would stop the car, X and Mastermind would run, do one intersection, they'd have their scotch tape, lamppost here, lamppost here, all 4 corners of the intersection had to be full of posters. Get back in the car, next intersection, that would be Finch. You do Steeles, Finch, Shepherd, Lawrence, Eglinton. By the time you finish those 2,500 posters, you've got the whole city postered up. And hopefully the police don't catch you doing that stuff too, right? Some of my friends were real ill. They got wallpaper glue out. You get to a TTC bus station, they put wallpaper glue all over the TTC thing and slap the poster out. Okay, Ron, let's go. You know? Whole bunch of stories like that, man. You'd be surprised about the quality, thrust. There's so many names I can name. They were in my car. So sometimes we had 2 cars going at the same time. And I studied this technique from watching the whole, we called it at the time the Geno scene, you know, guys like GQ, Supreme Team. That's how they did their thing, and they were making lots of money. So I thought, hey, and the reason I'm saying this is because, again, I was just this guy. Nobody recognized me. Nobody hired me. Nobody said, hey, we're going to market and brand you. I knew nothing about all that stuff back in those days. All I said was, this is what I'm going to do. I didn't wait for people to say, that's a good idea. You do it. And you put your own money into it. And if you're passionate about it, then you're driven. And, you know, you end up just going where you've been destined to go. And that's, I mean, the little intro that I had kind of says it all. I don't have to go through my entire life story. I've been interviewed so many times because of the stuff that we're doing here when I was there. Now I feel tired. I'm telling the same stories over and over again. Again, I didn't recognize these things as being extremely significant. So now there's an organization that's here recognizing the importance of archiving your history, you know, having artifacts. In 83, 82, we didn't think about anything like that. All those concert hall jams that I did, I never had a video camera there. Never owned one. Never had a camera. We didn't have these cell phones at the time. We couldn't be taking pictures. Never thought about recording the whole show on cassette or DVD. We didn't archive our history. We didn't know we were making history at the time. Technology's changed now. You know, 5 minutes after I take a picture with Dream Warriors, I can see it on Instagram, or 1 minute. But back then, there's a lot of lost archives. I mean, we need to go back and get some of those. I think that's one of the purpose of, you know, this organization, just to be accountable for what it is that led us to this point here, where now, you know, we have an established scene and it's making money. In theory, we just want to get some of it, you know what I mean? But it's more or less established. So one of the things I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pay heed to all those people who said, Ron, you talk too much on the radio, because I could stand up here and talk. Trust me, I could. Talking is not that exciting. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take questions from the people that are here. And again, thanks for coming out. It's a little, the lights are in my face, so I can't see all of you guys. I'm a little older now. These are my reading glasses. I need them to see better what I'm going to do. So before we go to our questions, I'm just going to take you on a little journey, I guess, a little tour. Some of the things that I think the I Was There movement wants are artifacts. So I scrambled yesterday. I have this portfolio. One of the best things I've done throughout my career is I've kept a flyer or a poster from most of the events that I've done. Some of them are lost in the archives. And I think Mark's organization, again, might want to have some of these for their collection, because this is the history of our urban scene. Some of it is not this necessarily. It's just a starting picture, but I don't have these in the best order. But let's see. So this one here is probably the youngest picture you will ever see of me from back in the days. I think it's around 29 years old, this picture, but this is where the Fantastic Voyage program name was born from. A lot of people wonder about that. So I started using it from like grade 12. Again, this is another example of what we used to send out to our high schools, you know, books, celebrity DJ. What's important here is that we're mentioning the word hip hop here. This is from 1988. So the very best in dance, hip hop, reggae, house, and slow songs. Back then, we used to play slow songs at events. Don't do that anymore. Again, this is how we used to have to do flyers here. This is the board that you used to have to cut and paste and glue things on in order to get the final one done. So same old stuff. So again, that's that one there. Okay. I'm not sure which folder to go to next. Let's look at. So this is for your entertainment pleasure here. This is when I had a recording studio and a management company. One of the things I regret to this day is getting advice from Ivan Berry, who was excited for me. He said, "Ron, I'll hook you up with my lawyer, man." I go, "Yeah, how much?" He goes, "Oh, you just pay this guy $500 a month and everything you need will be there." And, you know, at that point, again, I should have had a bookkeeper accountant that said, "Ron, don't do that." But I paid this guy $500 a month, US, for probably 2 years, and never really needed him for anything. But, yeah, a lot of stories, me and Ivan there. This is the group that Thrust was in. It's called KGB. Yeah, you guys know some of that stuff there. DJ X was the producer of that. I found their old DATs, so I have some old stuff now. Cool Gifted Brothers. 10K was in this group as well. Awesome rapper, but of course, old school. This one is, again, you know who this guy is here? That's Mastermind, who is now on The Move, 93.5. So this is when he was just a young punk, spoiled kid, you know, hanging around my house all the time. Lots of talent. And that's the main rapper there in the group called Exact Wisdom. This is another picture of him. Well, it's the same one, isn't it? But just so you get a shot of Mastermind, that's what he looked like back in the days. Yeah, definitely. We zoom in on that. There he is. That's Paul Parhar. Yeah. Yeah, Paula loved that one. So this is an ad that I never put out because I was designing graphics at that time, and it'll just show you who we had producing. DJ X, Danny Maestro for reggae. Alex, anybody who knows who Alex Greggs is? Talented kid. I don't think he's here anymore. Richard Rodwell is the main Beat Factory producer. Ray Williams, the professor at York University who ended up hiring me. I used to hire him because he worked at Steve's Music. I used to pay him $10 an hour to come to my studio and show me everything he knows. This was when MIDI first came in, and so it's funny how things work. Okay, so yeah, that's a little tour of. So Astrolight. Anybody remember Astrolight? Astrolight was a big nightclub in Mississauga. It looked like a big giant barn. And I used to play there. I used to play there quite a few times. Because when I played there, it was probably the most people I ever played in front of. I swear it looked like they had 5,000 people in there. But it probably wasn't that much. So here, guys like Chris Shepard. I used to work with a couple of gigs with him. What else is in here? Just another example of a flyer at Astrolight. this was cool because today we have 10 DJs on the flyer. In this case, I was one DJ and the place was absolutely ram-packed. That was when I was really hot back in these days. Didn't need a whole bunch of different DJs, so it was kind of cool. So again, I'll allow you to ask questions in a bit. Okay, battles. Should we go in order, just top to bottom here? I don't really have a particular order for this. Okay, so let's see what we have here. So again, was anyone at this event here? That's how you know you're getting older. 1993. 1993. So this again was my vision. Kind of cool. It says here, this is not the first battle I did. This was just one of them. But this was kind of cool. Battle of the Producers. Now, nobody thought I could pull this off. For your information, this event was the most packed I've ever seen the Opera House. And it came out of nowhere. Like, it was so ram-packed. I still remember how packed it was, which is good when you're a promoter. But yeah, check this out. People are producing beats, and they're bringing them in on what format? They brought them in on, what? Did we have CDs back? Was it cassette? I think they brought in DATs. Was it DATs? Yeah. It was crazy, but it was one of the first events of its kind. I didn't have an event to pattern it after, and people literally were in the audience, and the producer would come up, press play, stand there, and the audience would go, whoa, and it was like, I mean, that's normal today, but we never seen that reaction before. It was the first time. So, yeah, these guys, some of them went on to do stuff. Too Rude is rudimental. First Offense are the people who produced Maestro's Fresh West's record. That's who that is.
I have a question. Is that when Apollo and Grouch went at it, and Apollo came with Children Go I Was Ending, and then Grouch came back with
Man, Grouch was just here. We should have asked. I don't. That had to have been it. Yeah, these were some exciting times, man. S. Blank was one of the producers out of Flemo that was really representing, doing a lot. Phil Cole was probably the most decorated producer at this point in time. I'm not sure what Phil is doing right now. Cougar and Blast, again, Beat Factory products. Blast is still producing to this day. Cougar is still doing his poetry. I believe, again, we don't have enough time to talk about every one of these. Battle of the Dancers, again. Anyone know who Shadow is? You guys are forgetting, man. Shadow. These names are getting old now. Look at Battle of the DJs. You got to do your research to find out. Because I don't remember everyone. No. I'm just kind of trying to get away from it myself. So we see the name CHRY in this one. D Scratch versus Grouch. I don't remember who won. Anyone remember? See, when time goes by, we don't remember enough of this stuff. Battle of the MCs. Again, man, it takes a lot to put together something like this. Hosted by Mishy Me, Farley Flex, John Bronski. So again, the power of community radio. All these people representing. Yes? A team? Yo, I see you have a team. Yeah, it was again, an untrained person like myself who never went to business school to learn how to work with a team and how to manage money properly and stuff. You just get up and you go. So I get up and I have a book. I call all these people, get the phone numbers, book the venue, hire the security, go sit with the flyer designer at their shop for hours and days until every little element is finished. There is no social media. There's no sitting on your phone and going back and forth waiting for a flyer to be done. This is a lot of work, man. That's what I'm saying. It was a lot of fun, but when I look back at this now, I don't even know how I did this because it took a lot of conviction. I know the workload that's involved in doing something like that now because right now I'm doing a reggae sound clash and there's 30 sounds involved over 3 different nights, and the complexity of it is something that normally a team stays on top of, but I do it all myself to the most part because that's what I love doing. A bit of a control freak too, maybe, but if I do it myself, then I know I can do it right.
About this. So if this would have been the first of its kind, how did the Opera House react to it? Like, how do you explain, this is what we're thinking, we want to do a hip hop battle? Like, what was like, what this kind of, to 5 in the morning?
Well, the lady at the Opera House and I got along pretty good. When you pack a place, they love you because they sell lots of alcohol, and they will tell you can come back and do anything you want after that. Back in these days, weed smoking was not an issue, so it's not like my crowd was smoking weed in the place. There was no weed. Can you imagine that? The place did not smell of weed at all, you know? Most of my events, we sold pop and patties, and we had Sarasota to drink. That's the one thing that distinguished me in my entire movement from a lot of other promoters of today. They required alcohol. There were times when the police came into the concert hall and they tried to raid it because a lot of other black events with black people would be selling alcohol illegally from the same place I sell pop and patties. But they couldn't do anything to me because I never even saw the profit. I didn't see money. I just saw doing this, and a lot of the audience was under 19 anyway, so these were all ages events. So I never tried to do the alcohol thing when I did my own stuff, but when you go into a club like this, that's why they want you there. Their job is to sell as much liquor as possible. So yeah, they loved it. It was safe, nobody got hurt. I think my colleagues were very surprised and envious that I pulled it off, and I was surprised too because I didn't know how it was gonna go. I just did it. Let's see what else to show you here. So again, that's like one of the flyers or programs that we have. Yeah, I guess it's the same thing. It's just, maybe it's a sponsorship package or something like that. Let's see what this says here. Recording studio. So these are, you try and get sponsors. Remember lacquer channels? I heard some people talk about dub plates before. This is where people always went for dub plates. Apache Studios was my studio. Does Exit still exist? I don't know. This was from back in the days. Steve's Music, Teletech. It's just funny to kind of look back at some of these things. Yeah, yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't that long ago, And these sponsors, by the way, again, they're paying $200, $250. It's not like real sponsorship. We say every mickle make a muckle, so whatever we can get, we'll contribute. So this was one battle that I'm very proud of here. This was the first one I did. Again, none of this possible without CKLN. That's why it's there at the top. So the ultimate hip hop battle. This was when, again, I said, ain't nothing going on with the Canadian scene. There's no stars. Everyone is trying to make it. Everyone's talking. Very few people are putting out records. Everyone's dissing people. But we're fascinated with this whole hip-hop thing. And I'm frustrated because all these rappers are coming to me. My studio is busy every day. I'm charging $40 an hour. And I'm booked like 8 hours a day. And these rappers have become part of my life. And I'm feeling for them because I'm like, why is it that Canada has so much talent and nobody's making it? Nobody. Not Maestro at this point in time. We didn't have anybody making it. So that's what we did. We broke down the elements. I said, let's bring Biz Marquee here and put him up against some of our most famous human beatboxes. And battle of the female MCs. These Fly K and Mischievous C, they might have been forgotten a little bit, but they were representing back in the day. I think Mischievous C was from Kilowatt Sound Crew. And Fly K, she used to hang out at Leslie and Finch. That's where she was. But they went up against Roxanne Shante. And the battle is like the biggest thing back in these days because no battle had ever come to Canada before. It was a word that we threw around, something that we saw in movies or read about or heard about, but a battle had not come to the city before. Same with Battle of the DJs, Battle of the Street Crews. You got MC Rumble and Force here. And Jam On Strong. I'm telling you, when you saw a show like this, you had chills in your body. Come again? Oh, zoom in? I'm sorry about that. Let's zoom in.
What year is this?
1986. Who was there? DTS, you were there. Yeah, Sunshine Warren. Very expensive compared to Chic Dynasty, yes. But that's why I dealt with him. So again, this is back in the days, man. Cut So Fresh, DJ Devour, Cutmaster DC. Cutmaster DC is a guy, I'll show you a flyer with him on it later on, but he was a guy that when he performed in Toronto, he used to have on a very expensive suit, very expensive shoes, rings on all his fingers. He looked so rich and flashy, and he was a pretty good flasher as well. Scratcher as well, sorry. I said flasher. I caught myself. Edit that. When I went to New York for one of the first times going there, I went into Brooklyn, where he's from, and this man lived in an apartment the size of most of y'all's living room, maybe. He had 6 little babies in that house and 1 woman, and he looked poor as hell. And I'm saying, wow, that's a real deal. Things are not always like they appear, because I'm looking at the album cover, and he looks all decked out like this man's got money. We brought him to Toronto thinking that he's set, but I happened to get a little sneak peek into the way it really is in Brooklyn. A man was struggling like a lot of hip-hop artists were. We just did not know it. So something to keep in mind, just to see the real thing. So again, just examples of other events. Concert for Peace. Again, a lot of battling, a lot of gangs back in my days trying to do my thing. They caused me a lot of trouble, a lot of money, but it was just an element. Security companies back then didn't exist. You had to hire security person by person if you're the promoter. So every time you saw a big guy with big muscles, you say, hey, you want to work security for me? And the big guy with big muscles doesn't always work. There's one time the Regent Park posse came down to concert hall because I forget what the reason, but they came down to concert hall, and one of those big guys with big muscles was at the door. And I had hired him, I was paying him to work security. So I'm standing behind him, and he sees the head of the Regent Park gang, and he says, that's a guy busted in last time and broke the bottle. And I'm like, oh yeah? So I step in front and go, you're not coming in. I didn't know if he was the head of the Regent Park guys or not, but he's looking at me saying, what? What the fuck you talking about? What do you mean I'm not coming in? I go, you're not coming in. My friend there, he said you're the... I look around, the guy's gone. The guy's gone. Every Tuesday night at the Eaton Center, that's where we used to go to hand out flyers. The Regent Park gang used to march in a group of 30. And when they walked from Regent to the Eaton Center, they used to walk like an army. They used to walk fast. If you weren't cardiovascular in shape, you couldn't keep up with that gang, eh? And they were coming down after me. Well, not particularly, but they remembered. They didn't like being embarrassed like that at the concert hall. The head guy's name was Fish. Anybody know Fish or know of Fish? Yeah. Fish ended up having a little respect for me. I don't know what happened, but again, your notoriety helps you, because when he did catch me one-on-one down there, he said, Ron, goes, like your radio show, you know. I'm saying, you're talking about a radio show? I thought you were going to kick the hell out of me. So that was it. He ended up kind of respecting me for standing up to him, but tell you, man, that whole obsession with peace in 1988 was a real thing. The gangs were penetrating the hip-hop scene. They loved it. They wanted to be a part of it, but they didn't have the money to always pay to get in. So they resorted to techniques that they knew, such as banging on the back door of the concert hall, and the security guy there, if he's not smart, he might open it. What happens if he opens it? 30 people bum rush the door. That's where the term bum rush comes in. And they're even a little more creative about it, because just to make sure all their boys get in, they have 2 or 3 people who stand there with rocks in their hand, and they're throwing it at the security that's left at the door. Meanwhile, all there, I'm telling you, man, there's so many situations where you see that kind of stuff. The common denominator here, night of the female MCs, the one thing I found out is female MCs don't draw. People don't like when I say that, but you don't, for whatever reason, there's this thing in hip hop where if you put, 10 of the best female MCs at this concert and 10 of the best males at this one, it's going to be almost like 2 to 1 in terms of turnout. And that was consistent throughout my career promoting. Just going to move this up a little bit now. There you see the original vision. That's the way we did it. New York invades Toronto. And we use CKLN again to push those vibes to the people. The only problem I had with this show, I should have charged more money to get in. It was a big undertaking. We're all nervous back in these days about how much money to charge. Because again, we dealt with an audience that was, fairly young. So B-Boy Destruction. Again, I played the record last night for those who were there. I actually performed the record at this event. I think it was the only time I've ever been a rapper and had to go on stage and rap like a regular artist, because I'm not a rapper. But I put a record out, and some of you know this already, after this guy got killed, and I took it to a next level where I had a fundraising event at the concert hall, and we donated proceeds to his family. So again, Little Rascals were there, all these people, a little bit of combination of hip-hop, reggae, but again, that was 1988. I actually found some of the original lyrics to B-Boy Destruction. I'll just, again, give you a glance peek there. But there's a whole bunch of stuff going on here. We're talking about terminating violence. Buffalo actually did a concert in Buffalo as well, a hip-hop concert. We're talking about Michie Me, Kenny Crush, Run DMC, MC Rumble, Jam on Strong, Public Enemy, LL Rock the Bells, he was hotter than hell. Like that stuff that was going on. But this is a real thing. Violence started, there was corruption. The end result, B-Boy Destruction, party after party, jam after jam. The weak would hang, surrounded by the gang. Violent times, corrupted minds. My pledge for peace, I've written these lines. This is me, again, trying to reach out to the people of the city and saying, if you don't watch what's going on, you're going to destroy what you have, And I even highlighted one of the things that I saw. The biggest fight in one of my concert hall events was when Eric B. and Rakim came to the concert hall. There was 1,100 people in the place, and that was a pretty good turnout. But for the first time, we saw big men come out in hip-hop. These weren't kids anymore. Hip-hop had grown up now, so the size of the people in the audience was college, university size. But when a fight started in a concert hall, if you're sitting and watching over, you could see half the room just move all the way to the other half of the room, and it's dark, and you don't really know what's going on. And people could be getting killed in situations like that, and you don't know. And we don't know, even to this day, why artists like Run DMC and Eric B. and Rakim were so powerful that their audiences started fighting. It's one of those things that, when you think about it again, the music was so powerful at the time. It's just one of those things. We never figured it out. Beat Factory. Here, I'll show you this picture because not a lot of people get to see this picture there. There's Michie Me. Look where her hands are. I don't know who the photographer was. Yeah, both hands, that's right. That's K-Force. K-Force was probably one of the most talented rappers Toronto ever had. He lives in New York now. He's producing. But he was an inspiration to Michie. He wrote a lot of her lyrics. He gave her all the inspiration she needed. He was like a coach. He's one of the heroes of Toronto's hip-hop scene that is probably not going to get proper recognition, partly because he doesn't live here anymore. But he was so good, this guy. He was so ahead of time. He was on point. My last memory of him was when he was trying to, him and DJ X had a beef, and he actually came down to the radio station, and he was running down to strike a fist. And I got in the middle. And I'm going, Sean, man, calm down. What the fuck, So eventually he calmed down, but if I wasn't there, he would have lost it. Who's this guy again? Who's this guy? Which one is LA Love, the DJ? Him, right? Yeah, yeah. He would hate me if he knew I was showing you guys this picture. Yeah. But yeah, yeah. It's missing me who this guy is, but I should know. I should know.
K-Force coined the phrase T-Dot.
Oh, did he? Ah, good to know. Next time I talk to him, I'm going to give him that little bit of credit there. I don't know who has this comic book. I put this on Instagram, but this is the Dream Warriors comic book. I don't know who designed it, but it's a collector's item. One day I hope to sell it for a lot of money. This is the back page. Again, these guys were there last night, so it's kind of an honor. If they were here today, they'd see this. This is just a scoop of what the inside looks like. You see HMV no longer exists. Again, these are all things that show us the timeline of hip-hop. I never took pictures when I was doing concerts. You guys know this guy? What's his name? Damn. So you all remember HDV. Yeah. HDV was one of the coolest characters I've ever known. I think in real life, this guy was a pimp, you know, in real life. That's what was fascinating about it. Ivan Berry couldn't quite know how to handle this guy. But HEV got a record deal because the record label at the time, ISBA, came to me and said, who should I hook up? Who should they hook up? And I recommended him. And, you know, he did all right for a little while. And, of course, yeah, Public Enemy. What can we say? We know that already. All right. I'm going to try and move fast so we can get some questions in. Club Z, this is be very swift here, but anybody know Charles, the one that owns Rebel, owns Cool House? He owns so many things. Charles Caboose, something with... Okay, so no disrespect, but I used to do business with Charles all the time. He actually offered to sell me Club Z. This was the last club that he owned before he moved into the Cool House. At that point, he would have sold it to me for $70,000. And I thought, that's a lot of money. I'm chicken. I don't want to be tied down to just one club. I'm a mobile DJ, etc. But I remember a lot about Charles. Charles liked me. He gave me a good break by working inside that venue. I remember his work ethic. Before he was getting his license for the Cool House, he went and paid like $6,000 worth of parking tickets. He gave me a lot of insight into kind of how the business works, man. But he was just a little guy at first. Whenever he had an event, he'd get his entire crew of Club Z to put on Club Z t-shirts, and they'd walk from Young and Bloor all the way to Young and Front, handing out flyers to people as a team. And he was just a different guy, a visionary. But he gave me a lot of opportunity to do some things inside his clubs. Me and JC from Sunshine, it was an honor to play with JC. Again, that's Mastermind here. This is the evidence again. Mastermind is Ron Nelson. I did not want to use my name, Ron Nelson. And DJ Mastermind liked the name so much, one day he just took it, and I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, I'm keeping it. I go, but, there's nothing I can do about it. Now he's known as Mastermind, which is cool. He's my friend. I like him. Coming up with names have always been one of those good things. So again, me and Scott Turner had a relationship. Scott Turner is now at The Move. I think he's program director there, working with Mastermind. So see what a small world it is. And again, we're in this new wave era. That's why this is a poorly designed flyer to most people. But when you have 2,000 of them on lampposts around the streets, people actually look to see what's going on. So, yeah, same old stuff. Just a little altered waves in this case. This was me again trying to come up with a name after Mastermind stole that Mastermind name. Okay, we'll quickly go through this. Okay, Ron Nelson, JC. And I even had a little experience at the Twilight Zone. I played there for a little while. So I like all kinds of music, including, you know, that stuff. But that was a short-lived experience. Contracts and writers. Not really much to look at here. I'm just going to explain to you, again, I went back in the diary a little bit. So some of the things of keeping organized. So I'd be looking ahead, Queen Latifah here, Public Enemy here, Ice Cube here, Special Ed here. Used to play 23 Hop, Maple Leaf Ballroom. I found that I'm kind of like, hey, that's kind of cool, because I forget a lot of that stuff. The Public Enemy writer here. Let's see, how much did I pay Public Enemy in concert here? Let's see what I paid for them. 15,000 US for Public Enemy. $2,500 bonus if it's a sellout. Isn't that interesting? Well, Public Enemy were at their peak at this point in time. I would have paid them anything they wanted, and the most money I've ever made doing concerts was with Public Enemy. Okay, and it's because white people came to the show. Now, you guys may laugh at that, but when I did Public Enemy, I promoted almost exclusively to a black audience because these guys were spitting black consciousness, right? And you would think that black people would be hearing the Public Enemy message. I maybe put one ad in Now Magazine, where white people read Now Magazine, black people, we read flyers back in these days. There was probably about 100 people out of the 1,100 or so that were black people. I would have lost my shirts if it wasn't for those white people coming out. So that's when we saw hip-hop changing a little bit, because other groups came and attracted mostly white audiences, but up until then, the audience were all black. And the greatest thing about when white people come to concerts for me, at the end of that concert, this guy came up to me and he gave me a check. And the check was for, I think it was $7,500. And I was about to give him back saying, what are you giving me this for? He goes, no, man, it's yours. I'm saying, what for? He goes, T-shirts. I sold T-shirts. That's your cut. I'm like, I didn't even know anybody was in there selling T-shirts. Well, I'm telling you, every one of those white kids, unlike all the black kids that I've been dealing with, the very first thing they did when they got inside the concert hall was buy one of these T-shirts. And then they went and got their spot. And I'm like...
Just 1 second. Which concert? Because you were on Public Enemy.
Four times, I think. This was the one at the concert hall, I believe, in '89. I'm going to show you that flyer in a second to give it a little more accountability. So again, this is a look into a promoter's life when you're planning things. I'm planning Monster Jam. There's the phone numbers for all these different people. You know, Exact Wisdom. Shakim Shabazz, eh? Poetic Just. Superior J. Anybody remember Superior J? She was the dopest female MC, one of the best that Toronto's ever had. Ever. Wicked, wicked artist. Is she? Good to know that. And what about Deshan? Deshan is a preacher now in the States. Yeah, but Deshan, believe it or not, yeah, she's a preacher, but she was also probably one of the best, top 3, I would say, female artists that Canada ever had. But, you know, she left. Which one's this? Roxanne Shante, $2,500 US. Is that what I pay for her? That's cheap. Yeah. But yeah, there it is, Roxanne Shante from back in the days. Let's just quickly look at this again, because most people don't get to see things like that. Okay, so this says...
Is that a visa? Did you do a visa? Like, did you have to do like any type of immigration?
Yeah, everything. And you had to do it all yourself, too. I actually went to Scarborough Town Center, created the work permits, dealing with those immigration people, and then you go to the airport in Buffalo yourself. You pick them up, you put them in the car, you drive through immigration, you kiss ass with immigration yourself, you drive them to the hotel yourself, you pick them up from the hotel yourself, drive them to the concert hall yourself. I didn't know how to delegate very well. There was not a team back then. That's why some of this stuff is amazing. Right now I'm planning to teach a course on how to promote in the urban industry, and it's because I've done everything, A to Z. So it's all up here, but today when you rent a venue, they do it all for you. I keep saying that all the time. So it's all good, times change. But $2,000 US for one show, and this was for Boogie Down Productions. I can't believe I only paid $2,000 for BDP. Look at that. Amazing, eh?
They just wanted to get on it.
Well, I have a lot of stories with BDP. When they were so broke, these guys, Boogie Down Productions, they actually stayed at my mom's house. My mom had to cook them food every day. They had no money, man. And it was, I think Ivan wanted them to work with Mishimi at the time, so I had to help Ivan out too by giving them a place to stay. And they were like the nicest people, very mannerly. They were so humble because they didn't know how big. This is when Scott LaRock was alive, right? So they didn't really know what was in store for them. They just knew that something magical was going on, but it was part of that innocence. Again, too, I was there when they got phone calls from their brethren in America just saying, hey, how you guys doing, man? I'm just checking on you. Is everything good? You know, just give me love and stuff like that. It was it's a very good opportunity, you know, and my mom still talks about that stuff to this day, how she had to cook for them and what they liked and what they didn't like and stuff. So, like I said, my mom's, she's part of this whole thing. Got to give her props. Yeah, I got to give her props. Tim Dog. Anyone remember Tim Dog? I don't have the flyer for that one. That's one flyer I lost. What did we pay Tim Dog for this? $1,000 US. That's all he was worth, just one song. Yeah, only had the one song. So, yeah, it didn't make sense paying any more than that. Special Ed. I saw Special Ed just about a year and change ago when he came up here, except he's an old man. And I'm like, yo, Special Ed, you remember when you came down here and stuff? He goes, I remember you, but I think he lied. There's no way he'd remember me from back in those days. But this was the first time Special Ed came here. That's $6,000 US at that point in time. I'll show you that flyer afterwards. What's that one for? Let's see. There's only one or two more left here. $6,000 US. That's probably still the Special Ed one. Yeah, there's. Yep, Special Ed. $500 flat. Yo-yo. Anybody remember yo-yo? Don't play with my yo-yo. So yeah, I brought her up too. I think that was not very expensive. Back then, there were only like 3 agencies in New York that sold all these hip-hop artists. So when I got up and got on the phone, it was getting these guys to talk to you was so hard. They didn't recognize Canada. I had to fight to get respectability. I wanted to get on a plane and go down there and meet them in person. Miss Cara Lewis was this powerful woman who made hip-hop by, you know, putting these rappers on tour for the first time. She had a vision down there herself, but dealing with Canada was something strange to them. And the first time that these artists, a lot of them anyway, left the territory and went outside of America was when they came to Canada. So it was a very cool kind of working relationship. This one is for Ice Cube, 1990. I was pissed off at G98 because they said, first time in Canada, Ice Cube. I had to call them up and go, yo, y'all get your facts straight. You know, I brought Ice Cube here first. But people forget things like that. You know, some of them weren't even born at the time, I guess. And no. Are you saying it was them and Farside in concert? No, not at this point. It was just Ice Cube. $4,250. That doesn't make sense. I'm sure I paid Ice Cube $8,000. Yeah, that was the deposit then. Yeah, the embarrassing to me about the Ice Cube show is that at this point I was so busy being a concert promoter, I didn't even see the artists that I would bring sometime. I would delegate people to pick them up, drive them here, drive them there. And there's one time I got on his tour bus, and I had to pay the manager some money, and there was this guy in a hood that was walking down the hall, and he tapped me on the shoulder. He goes, yo, what's up? I goes, what's up, man? Who are you? He goes, it's Ice Cube, man. I'm like, shit. That was an embarrassing moment, but yeah, I bigged him up at that point in time. O'Shea Jackson, all right. And is there any more? Big Daddy Kane. You guys want to see that one for a second here? Big Daddy Kane. At the concert hall. This was the one where Maestro Fresh West opened for Big Daddy Kane. What did I pay him? Can you see that? $1,250. That must be half of $2,500 or something like that. Yeah, there it is. $2,500 US, flat rate, round trip airfare. for Big Daddy Kane.
In 88?
No, but still.
In 88?
That's why I'm showing you these things.
So big then, even if you think it'd be more. You think it'd be more.
88 was his biggest year. 88 was his biggest year. Correct.
$5,000, 10, like, at least 5.
Yeah, I got, maybe I'm in good at this point with the agents and they're liking me because they're not cheap.
The majority of times, people were really looking to go international, and the quickest way was to come to Toronto. That was
Yeah.
really it.
Where there was no world market at that time, right? So Toronto was one of the only alternatives. It was so close to America too. The demographics were the same. I mean, there was one time when Bismarck he came to Toronto, and I had to beg the what do you call it, the immigration person to let him through because he had never had to deal with immigration before, and Biz at that time, he had this reputation for being this ill MC, but he looked like he had a bit of retardation on his face, you know, and there's like spit hanging from his lips and his bottom just hanging down and stuff. So he's like this, you know, and the people at the security, they didn't know what to make of it. The hip-hop mindset had not kind of set itself in to these guys. So all they saw was Biz being this ignorant person because he didn't want to be dealt with the way he was dealt with by immigration. Next thing he knows, I don't care. My pops will come get me. He didn't know that he was so far from New York City. So I don't like kissing ass, but this is one time I had to literally plead and beg because he was supposed to come across to Canada to battle for them to let him across. And I was a good pleader and beggar because they let him in, but they didn't have to. Okay, I'm going to just go through this one quick without commentary. I've done a ton of dances, but again, it gives you a glance into what old school flyers look like and the campaign of Ron Nelson Productions. Again, Astrolight. This is not LL Cool J at Astrolight. This is just me playing at Astrolight. That's what we use as a flyer. This is a bit deceiving. You couldn't do that today. Back in the days, you could do it. Street Beat was the first group that Ivan Berry manages. If Ivan Berry ever tells you that he was a hip-hop head, he's lying. He was an R&B head, funk head. He knew nothing about hip-hop, and when he saw the money that you could make from hip-hop, that's when he switched from his R&B shoes over to his hip-hop shoes, okay? So respect to Ivan, but Street Beat was his baby. That's who he cared about. And DJ Cash Money, of course, is probably the most talented DJ that I've ever brought here to this day. So again, just little things here and there. Again, this is how we used to make these flyers. We had to cut them out from back in the days. Cut them out. It's kind of just, again, a journey to see how we used to go and sit with the flyer designers. Same with this one. See how the picture, this is going over the top. You look at the next shot. Whoops. Well, I guess I didn't. Oh, that's what's underneath the bottom of that flyer with the lady on it. But graphic design was done differently back in these days. Cool little spot here. I remember playing at this place. Nice spot. TKO. Okay. Again, the influence of GQ Supreme Team. Yeah, but I did a couple of dances with George. That's why I've kept those flyers, just to get an investment. Falstaff Community Center. Again, I used to love playing at community centers, man. That's where you saw the realness. Dave Ahmad, anybody remember that name? Yeah. CKLN Radio, Sunday afternoons. He played the funk all the time, so it was nice to get him out, although he doesn't really play out that much. Whitney was beautiful, pretty. We needed a pretty girl for the flyer. Put her on the flyer. That's right. She was alive and well. Bless her soul. Again, just the dance. This was one of the most, I like this flyer from back in the days because it captured the feeling, you know. Didn't like that flyer, that picture. It's kind of weird, but it's all good. Be there for the Unlike Madonna lookalike contest? Come on now. Crazy stuff. But again, these are all DJs, man, that will say that, yeah, we had a little bit of an impact. Flemington Park Community Center again. Look at the names here. Get Loose Crew, Fresh Force, Box That Rocks, Double A, Deaf and Ready. I mean, you guys don't know some of the Human Honk Box. Who the hell is that? That's just, again, another party with the young LL Cool J on the cover. Casanovas. I'll go through this one pretty fast. I think I did already. Concert hall again. Free admission. Oh, 8 to 10. All right. I was wondering what I was doing there. Yeah, with the ticket stuff. People used to sell my flyers just because of that. You know, $5 off with a flyer, etc. The Cave was a place that Sunshine Sound Crew used to play it all the time. I only kind of jumped on the Cave bandwagon for 1 or 2 dances. Okay, so yeah, that was just a quick tour of that. Again, DJ competitions. Some of you might be interested in some of this stuff here. Okay. Schoolie D in concert. Wow. DJ Cheese was just ill. He was the ill DJ of all ill DJs. Oh, he did? Yeah, he normally stood up. Yeah, you're right. I remember he hung out here for a bit. Didn't go home right away. So now he's competing. Cheese versus Cutmaster DC. Who do you think won? Cheese. I was involved in the DMC mixing competitions a couple of times. When you're the hot promoter, then they recruit you to be the promoter for that year. And like I said, I still have some of those demos from some of those DJs. Amazing, amazing stuff. We're just going to skip that battle for now. Look at the sponsors we had. Who's still around? Plady Record. Kind of cool. More DJ mixing competitions. But again, do we recognize any of these sounds here? Roxy Beat, ABC, Star Sound Dynamics. But these were all sounds that were running things back in '87, at least in the Geno market anyway. Here's another good examples of some sounds that were from back in the days in '87. Manifest Destiny, I remember them. Sound Rebound, they're from Eglinton and McCowan area. 12 Inches of Pleasure was another sound that I used to do business with a lot. 12 Inches of Pleasure refers to the size of the disc that you play. It's 12 inches, so you know. More competitions here. And yeah, this is one of my favorite ones. When I brought Cash Money, I believe this was in Flemington. Yes, the Flemington Park Community Center with Cool Breeze. If you've ever seen Cash Money, it blows your mind every time he performs. So, okay, and that was, again, I think that's another, is this the DMCs here? Okay, so maybe I was involved with the DMCs twice. And there's that guy I went to see in New York that lived in a small apartment with 6 little babies. Cutmaster DC. Brooklyn's in the house, yep. Okay, see, I'm trying to move fast here because I know I got to keep my eye on time. High school, I already showed you that one, okay. Love Jams. Just a couple of examples. People keep saying, Ron, when are you going to do another Love Jam, you know? But Love Jams, the only unique thing about a Love Jam is that we play slow songs and men dance with women. Today's men don't dance with women. It's too bad. But here we got Baby Blue Sound Crew, Super Fresh Black. We see the reggae coming into it now, being a bigger thing than before. Again, a couple more Love Jams. Me and Dave Ahmad, I forgot about that one. And we'll just move past that folder. Monster Jams. Okay, now these aren't in any order. Again, just look at the names. Brothers of Manifest Lyrics, the Brat Pack, Legions of Hoodlums, Born to Rome, Black Poet Society. Who's around from all this? Ghetto Concepts in there, MVP's in there. You know, Enough to Rock, DJ X, King Turbo, all ages. So 1993, Mobb Deep, the big stars there. Let's see what else. This Monster Jam goes back to 1986. That's what our flyers look like back in 86. See the Pepsi logo here? They were a sponsor. Those guys gave me like 100 cases of Pepsi, and they left them at the airport on a slid for me to get. Didn't have a van. I'm like, screw you guys, give me Pepsi for a sponsorship. I wanted money. They gave me Pepsi. It's tough to get sponsorship. One of the coolest things that I did, though, was, where does it say here? We had Toronto's first LL Cool J lookalike contest. And the winner of that happens to be, what's his name? Slingshot from King Turbo won that one. King Turbo has two selectors. There's Ricky Turbo, and then there's the other guy. So the other guy had a big afro, or I forget how he looked at the time, but he won the LL Cool J lookalike contest. So it was kind of cool. We talk about it to this day. See, it says Poppin' Patties on sale all night, guaranteed television coverage. Can you imagine putting that on a flyer? Ooh, the media is going to come to a hip-hop event. You know what I mean? Like, all these little things that can work for you. We try and make it work for you. So again, same thing. How do you auditions held? So we actually 5-minute auditions open to all DJs and crews with a professional attitude if you want to make it into a Monster Jam. And we used to do that. We used to promote it on the radio show, and right after radio show, just put things into effect. Another Monster Jam. Look at these names here now. Again, how long do rappers last? Canadian rappers. How long do their careers last? Who's around? Nasty Howie? Georgie Porgy? Yeah, you know some of these names. Who's still around from here? Is anybody still currently rapping from this list? Because, you know, John Broskin missing me again. So we see Rap City mentioned on here, Much Music. Big up Michelle Geister. She was the woman who did the majority of the footage for all the hip-hop stuff. She lives in Jamaica now. She's probably got a lot of footage that we could use. But she was there. Ultramagnetic MCs, anyone remember them? They were dope.
I remember you brought them to Driftwood the next day.
Oh, did I? See, I forgot that. That's in Jane and Finch, in case you don't know Driftwood.
That was our party after your party.
There you go. There you go. So again, these are some of the names. Can you imagine a guy naming himself Jam Faster J? Wow. But he did it. And First Offense are the producers, again, of Maestro from back in those days. They were, I think, twin brothers, really different guys, man. They always used to speak like kind of slow, like, Ron, we can really do this, you know. And you didn't really need to talk to them. You just needed to let them go to work, because that's when they showed their talents.
They were wicked DJs.
Yeah, very wicked, very wicked. Love to do the scratch stuff. This Monster Jam I almost don't even remember doing. Monster Jam 1991. Rap City logo on the front. But let's see, who's still rapping now from 1991? Let's see. When I say the artists, if they're still rapping, then just say yes, okay? Bass Poet, Exact Wisdom, Superior J, Nasty Howie, Chase, MVP, Last of an Ancient Breed, Too Versatile, Melody, Poetic Justice, Crowd Control, Project One, Kingborn, okay, nobody.
Is that Chase from?
There's only been one Chase, so it has to be the same Chase. No, this would have been, not in this year, would not have been Maestro. So Farley Flex, John Brusk, Scam, again, Scam was ill DJ, for white guy too, like, whoa, you're wicked. Scam, again, was part of my whole thing. He was on my team. I don't think he ever went and put up posters with us, but he was down with our program. What's this say here? 10th anniversary reunion. It looks like it says concert hall reunion. It's a concert hall reunion jam or something. But yeah, reggae and hip hop. Phil Cole versus Blast. Battle of the Producers. Woo. Where did I put that? Oh, okay, good. Whew. I'm glad I didn't put that there. We don't need that.
Your hip hop awards there. So what happened to that? I see the first annual, I guess, Rod Nelson Productions Special Achievement Hip Hop Awards. Did you continue that? What happened? What was that?
Honestly, I don't remember. Yeah, I probably tried to do too much here on one night. So maybe I gave away some trophies and stuff, but it wasn't really something that was done on a professional level of excellence, or else I would remember it, and I don't. So did we look at that one already here? Friday, October 28, 2008. Let's see who's on this one. Dream Warriors, BIE Posse, Unity Productions, World Domination, The Rascals, Cool School, Def 3 MCs, JD Vicious, I remember him. Yeah, see? And there's some reggae people on here too. So yeah, again, this is just good for tracking, to track the state of, some of these artists. I think this was one of the very first Monster Jams. 85. This might have been the very first one, because we didn't know how to produce a hip-hop flyer. This flyer was done by a guy who worked at Quality Records, who knew nothing about hip-hop. It was the first time that I used the name Ron Nelson Productions, because when we were finished the flyer, he says to me, "So aren't you going to give yourself credit?" I'm like, "Credit? What do you mean?" He goes, "Like your name. Don't you want to put your name on the flyer?" And he goes, I'm like, "I guess so." So he goes, "What do you want to call yourself?" And I'm like, "I don't know, Ron Nelson Productions." And that's why it came on the flyer, and that's how Ron Nelson. I really wasn't thinking business at the time. See, courtesy of quality special products, la la la. This was a time where rap was starting to get commercial attention in Canada. Quality Records was a label that put out compilations. They had an idea called the Kings of Rap. It was a compilation with Run DMC and Houdini and a couple of other people. And it's at that case where they hired myself, Maestro Fresh West, and Ebony MC. I was the DJ, Maestro and Ebony were the MCs. This was before he was Maestro, and we'd have to go to different malls and set our equipment up on the sidewalk, so when people are shopping now, they would hopefully hear the music and want to buy the record. That was the record label's idea as to how to promote hip-hop in Canada, because they didn't know how to do it any other way. And at this point, Run DMC was the only household name in hip-hop in Canada anyway. People really didn't know too much about what rapping was all about, so it was kind of cool. So some of the old school crews we're representing right here. Maceo, City Crew, Kilowatt, Chic, of course, Sound Rebound, Paradise 2 from Brampton. I mean, this was when Monster Jams were not really about live artists performing or people on the mic. It was about the crews themselves. And this is an interesting one, too. I don't know if you've seen this one. Yeah, let's look at that. Look at all the sponsors. That's impressive there. I'm like, who sold those sponsors? I couldn't have done all that, but I probably did. I probably was the one who did it. But let's see who's still rapping. Choclair, Infinite, Citizen Kane, Thrust, Get a Concept, Cardinal, Socrates, Jellystone, Danny O, I Spy, Bed Life, Concrete Mob, Prodigies, I probably pronounced that wrong, Down to ERF, Black Eye. Syndrome is still rapping. I think he's Vancouver. YOK. Hey, Motion, what's up? Frankenstein, you bad? Yes, this was a different generation. You're right. And this again is the whole point, man. We're gonna, if we don't archive some of this stuff, it will go down in the history books as forgotten. Forgotten. What year is this? It says, it has to say somewhere on the entire flyer. It doesn't say. There's a clue somewhere. No? You've done it, eh? Okay.
108 would be a clue. If you could, because that went through
For real.
pictures of names.
Yeah. I know it is around 90s, the mid-90s.
Energy 108 would be a clue.
Yeah. And there again, there's another picture of Mastermind.
They went through different brand changes, and energy was in for a few years.
Like right after Rap Essentials.
So again, my criticism is that today I still don't see a Ron Nelson Productions in hip hop that cares about promoting the local Canadian scene with a vigor that they will make it their entire lives, their entire agenda, just to give Canadian artists a platform to create Monster Jam so that 4 times a year you can have events featuring Canadian artists and not just opening up for an American artist, but them being the stars themselves. So again, these are examples. I call this file, I guess, what's been in the newspaper. So this picture was used recently. I don't even remember who took that picture. Hopefully the person's making some money off it, but this was an article from before. And I believe this was when CKLN was dying and I was doing my last show, board of director stuff as well. This was, again, I don't know if anyone kept these articles, but Rumblin' Strong, getting some media attention in the newspaper here. So that's Jam On Strong, in case you've never seen this picture before. Very talented DJ. And that's not one of Rumble's best pictures, but it is Rumble, So, again, big up Mr. Errol Nazareth. He was one of the first people on the front lines that wrote about hip-hop and that got caught up, just like me, and people like Public Enemy and stuff like that. So, also on the bill are Heavy D and the Boys, MC Shan, Mishi Me, MC Force, and Rumblin' Strong. Okay, so this was for a show, Salt and Pepper coming to town. Okay, so yeah, I brought Salt and Pepper. I didn't see the flyer in there, so I don't remember what that flyer looks like. But it's nice when you get newspaper coverage. This is what's left of this newspaper. My mom laughs at that because she says this is how they used to take pictures of black people back in the days, making them look real like ghettoized and stuff. But this was one of the first articles done about me. The Toronto Star. I could probably still find it somewhere in there. Is it? Okay. It's on the north side of hip hop. So I thought I lost it. But okay. Hopefully a better quality. You can actually see the whole thing? Okay, good. So somewhere there's the real thing. This one's just a big up to Thrust. Again, this is Errol Nazareth. He works for the CBC right now. I think he's not well right now. I just called him the other day and he's like, Ron, I'm in bed. He would have liked to have come to this, so hopefully he's well. But Public Enemy gives this man props as well. But yeah, there's my boy Thrust, getting some love here. And okay, so yeah, we're almost coming down for a landing now. Other people's concerts. Okay, so I was, as I said, I'm self-made, okay? No one wanted to hire me. I hired myself. That's one thing I liked, a lot of hard work. But these are other people's dances. I like the fact here they use legendary because I'm hearing that now and I'm like, ew, it still feels weird. But there's evidence that it was there. This is one of the first parties I ever got hired for. I didn't even know what was going on. So old Mixmaster Ron. I think Kilowatt Sound Crew did that party. Yeah. Your old flyer? Okay, wicked. Powerhouse Sound Crew from Jane and Finch. They started taking a liking to me as well. You see the flyers see how we made flyers back in the days. Didn't matter, they worked. People came out, simple as they were. Just want to give you a peek in there, La Rotonda. If you remember the La Rotonda, it's still there now. And when we had dances there, the floor used to literally shake up and down. It felt like the floor was going to collapse at any second, and that's what made the party even more hype. Now, the person who did this concert was a Jewish white guy who worked for the Toronto Star. I did not know his attraction to hip-hop. His name was Jonathan Gross. He was a writer there. He took a liking to me. And this was one of the first hip-hop shows that I ever went to at the Breakdance Theater in Regent Park, right in the heart of Regent Park during the gang era. At this event, my girlfriend at the time was from Jane and Finch. She still claims that she saved me that night because there was this guy named Congo. Congo, do you know Congo? Congo had a knife and he wanted to fight those guys that night. For whatever reason, he wanted to fight Houdini, and we wouldn't let him in the venue. And she claimed she went out and calmed him down or whatever and stuff. But I remember the guy from the Star saying, "Ron, man, are those guys crazy?" He's talking about the guy outside. And I'm going, "Why?" He's going, "These guys are from New York, man. They'd kill them. They're from New York." That's how impressed we were. Anybody from New York was a real gangster. You know, don't mess with New York people. Little did he know that Toronto's got its own gangsters too. But whatever, that's not what it's about. This was, I think, one of the first breakdancing events that I went to. I think I may even have hosted this with special guests DJ X, Ron Nelson, Anthony Bond. Anthony Bond. Anybody know that name? Tell me a little bit about what you, in 1 minute or less. What do we know about Anthony Bond? Who is he? Why is he relevant to this conversation, DTS? He what? Oh, yeah. He eventually had a show on CIUT 89.5, and he became famous because one time he locked himself into the station and refused to be moved, and he kept broadcasting, right? Because of whatever politics was going on. That was interesting. But Anthony Bond was the guy, he called himself Funky Chicken. And when I didn't know anything about hip-hop and rap, he used to come, he was like the Flavor Flav of the Fantastic Voyage program. He used to be a fan, and he'd come down. He gave me my first jean vest that had graffiti spray paint saying Mixmaster Ron MC with these hands that lit up and stuff. And he's also the one who took me to New York, probably for the first time. He lied to me and said he had a cousin there and we could stay there. I had to end up... When we got to New York, for the first time, I ended up having to sleep in my car and showering in a YMCA my car got towed within 2 or 3 minutes of going in to try to find a hotel. This guy was so cheap that when we came back to our very last toll to come into Canada, it was like $10.50. They make you pay road tolls down there. And I had been wiped out of every single cent. No credit card, nothing like that. This guy sat there. He didn't have any money. The lady says, "Well, that's too bad. I'm about to write you a ticket." At the very last second, the stingy boy pulled out the $10 from his pocket and said, I'm telling you, man, poor people, when you're broke and you're in a hip-hop, like, you know it. It's just part of the reality. There's a lot of broke niggas out there, a lot. I used to see Beat Factory people fight all the time because they used to be broke at one point too. You know, they fight over money when they get their big royalty checks too. So people never change, right? But it's part of what happens in the business. Yeah.
How do you think this flyer collection could be best utilized at anywhere for the next generation of promoters, DJs, radio hosts? Understand.
That's your challenge, though. That's your challenge. You have the vision, and I have a lot of respect and admiration for you because you have a vision, and there needs to be more visionaries. You always say I can't do it all, so I love the fact that we have visionaries, and you can actually think this through with your team of people.
I think you hinted to it though, like if you were to put them in chronology by year, there's a story to be told about sort of when things started to happen, when sponsorships started to happen. Like you said, when the name hip hop was there for the first time, it could kind of start to, a story narrative could kind of come out if you start to line them up.
Yeah.
And even artistically, how things change graphically, the typeface, the images.
Yeah, I believe that.
Guess you put Whitney's picture on, those sort of things.
Well, that's stuff that you guys can help me with. I mean, by fluke, I bought a portfolio, and I was able to keep my flyers for most of the stuff that I've done, even though we didn't record, which still kills me to this day. I wish I could hear back some of those old Fantastic Voyage program radio shows. I've heard one or two. There's one featuring a battle of the beatbox, a human beatbox that I produced. It was like 45 minutes of straight human beatboxing, but it was like a battle. Anybody ever heard that online yet? Because you can actually find that. And I'd listen back to him and go, holy crap, I did that? And I remember doing it. I remember playing it on the radio and getting like no response at the time. Like it took everything in me to edit that stuff from the reel to reel and put it together. And then nobody said anything about it. And then looking back on it, it turned out to be one of the best shows that I've ever done. So that's kind of cool. You can still find some stuff like that online. Anthony Bond, the same guy, Funky Chicken, the same person we are just talking about. He brought Lisa and the Cult Jam to this venue here. That's not my show. This one here, LL Cool J. I spoke about this on Instagram. Let's see if that's the right one. Also, it's Sunshine Sound Crew, April 11. No, this wasn't the right one. I wasn't hired on that other concert hall show. But this one was the guys who did the Twilight Zone, the Asun brothers. Funny enough, they got LL Cool J in the building, and the concert hall wasn't packed for it for whatever reason. There's less than 1,000 people there, but it was a cool party. I just thought I'd bring the flyer in. And okay, so I think, I did miss a couple of them. Another person's flyer is Driftwood Community Center here. In this case, the Beastie Boys came to town. I happened to get some time to spend with the Beastie Boys and with Chris Shepherd when they came. The Beastie Boys actually opened up for Madonna another time at Maple Leaf Gardens. Can you believe that? I saw them there too, hung out with them a little bit. Okay, and are we done? Special events, let's just look at that real quick. Road to Change, that's something I did at the Jane Finch Mall, and it was rammed. They underestimated the power of the radio show and stuff. It was a thing with a good design, a good intent. There's another flyer. Look at it. So many artists performing on there. But typical of Jane and Finch, somebody yelled, "Gun!" And everybody started running. And there was no gun, there was no shot, but the white people that were in charge, the lady, she probably got some reprimanding or whatever for doing what she did, so we never had a chance to go back there again.
Back to that green one, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Mayor Neil Lastman was there. So at what stage were Toronto politics interested?
They were never interested. The only reason...
Using hip-hop or using the medium to try to get a message out to a certain... This is when they probably maybe started to notice that there's value, political value for them to get involved to this extent. That's the first time I've seen it.
That's a good point there. I mean, I don't know if that's a result of working corporately, because the Jane and Finch Mall were the hiring committee for this event, and they basically came to me and said, we would like to put on an event that's good for the community. And we gave them more than what they could possibly handle. But I don't think the mayor being involved was something that I designed. I think it probably came with the package of what the people from Jane Finch Mall were presenting to the table, and they didn't follow up on this anyway. I don't think they're ever really interested in this whole thing. They were just there in an isolated basis. We didn't see any record of it afterwards.
I would argue that it's still relevant.
Well, I would argue that too. I would find a way of making it relevant.
City view on all this.
Yep. So let's see here. So AIDS, still an issue in the community, but back then it was something that we were trying to understand. So this is where the government should have, gotten involved, put money and stuff to try and help us curb a problem. Mishi Me, Fly K, LA Love, judges. So what does it say here? Be part of the live broadcast as city's rappers compete for prizes as they rap against AIDS. So again, it seems really like an innocent thing here. It probably was, but. And this one I looked at, I don't know who did this comic. I don't know if anyone here knows anything about it, but I have it. What, can you tell me a little bit about it?
He, Immune Flake, and myself is the one what was behind this comic.
You were behind this? Oh, damn, what a small world. I had no idea. I just brought it in because,
Just do the work. We don't take credit. It's just something what's done.
well, you should take credit.
No, the credit is for the person who actually, between the both of us, he's the artist, I knew another artist, he knew another artist, and we just started documenting what was actually happening in the dance. And
You still have a few of these?
yeah, it's on Northside Hip Hop.
Awesome, awesome. See? Northside Hip Hop again, man. I got to go look at that. I haven't seen it yet, what's there at Northside Hip Hop. So I'm...
That's like the first one.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to give you my last little tour because I only missed one folder, and then we'll do the questions. Okay, so I'm going to go through this quick. Because I think this is more important than me talking, man. Like, honestly, I could talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. I'm from the radio fraternity, and I've realized that people don't always want to hear people talk. They'd rather hear the music. In this case, this is the music. So Boogie Down Productions, Hungarian Hall. I brought him a couple of times. Anybody remember Nice and Smooth? These guys try to bring a licensed gun through the border. No word of a lie. That was quite a phone call. Beat Factory's Party. So I helped Ivan out with this one. Let's see who the Beat Factory stars are. There's Michi Me and LA Love. There's HDV, the pimp of the microphone. There's Dream Warriors, and I believe that's Kenny Crush and crew, Crush and Scad. This was 1990. Same one, I showed you that one already. This one is, you know who that is? Big Daddy Kane. JVC Force, Tough Crew from Philly. Hardly did anything from Philly. For this one, the police parked a big giant ambulance bus down the street from my venue, and that scared off a few people. I don't know why they did that. Crazy. Jazzy J, this was probably my first concert that I was ever involved in as a partner. And Jazzy J was a hot New York DJ. He didn't show up until around 2 o'clock in the morning. He'd driven all the way from New York City to come to this event, and we paid him $800 for the night. And when he came, everybody was happy. So that's really the beginning. Tried to do R&B shows before, Ready for the World at the Copa Club. I did house music concerts with these artists here. If you know house music, these artists will be significant to you. Mantronics, again, from a hip-hop point of view, these guys is an example of one of the most disgusting points in my history as a promoter, because almost 80 people turned out to this show. I lost a lot of money, and I remember walking away and not paying them and leaving them stranded and not giving a fuck. And the guy ended up, he had one of those credit cards that had unlimited, so he paid his own way to get back home. But that was like, I'm not making excuses. As a promoter, that was a low point for me because I kind of ran away. I just ran off. Advertising for the battle at the concert hall. This was a show again, Rap Attack, Heavy D, Salt and Pepper, advertised in Now Magazine, I believe that was. Eric B. and Rakim, Kenny Crush Concert Hall. You can see again the advertising. I brought up the Cover Girls when they were hot as well. Queen Latifah, the concert hall. Also featuring Sweet Ebony. Anybody know who Sweet Ebony is? Sweet Ebony was an artist from Jungle, and when I ran my studio and I was charging $40 an hour, he was my most popular artist in the sense that he spent the most money in my studio almost every day. And he was a particular producer. It would be like working and you're just the engineer. He knew everything that he wanted to do, every sound that he wanted to tweak. Then one day, I get a phone call and I find out that the same person because he wanted money or needed money, and hopefully it wasn't to pay for my studio time, but allegedly this is what happened. He knocked on somebody's door. When the door opened, he used his big giant shotgun and murdered them on the spot. He only came out of jail probably a few years ago. He did life in jail, and he's friends with some of the people you're friends with. He may even be here right now. I haven't seen him in years. But yeah, Sweet Ebony that's who I'm talking about. Now this show here was the last show that I ever did in hip hop. Anybody know the reason why?
Yeah, that's the big fight. Yeah.
What happened?
He was already red, and he was acting a fool that they got beaten in Toronto.
Yeah. Who got beaten in Toronto?
Yeah,
Okay, well,
that was at varsity, right?
yeah, that was. Listen, I did one other show at Varsity, which was the Run DMC Rap Fest, but I have always worked with my own money as a promoter. But see these people here, TJP, whatever they're called, they really wanted to work with me. They took the same show to Montreal and lost money in Montreal. When they came back to Toronto for this show the next day, they didn't tell me that all the money had been lost. They basically set me up to take a fall. And I was not able to put this show on, and I believe the artist went on stage and dissed the promoters and said they weren't going to go on, and I ran from that venue. I literally got out of there in a car. I was scared for my safety. I didn't know what to do. I basically said, you know what, this is it for me. I was set up. No one's going to care who the other guys are. They only care about the name that's the biggest on the flyer. So as far as they're concerned, they don't want to hear excuses. I'm the one that screwed up. The other people get off easy. But the real truth was the other people had lost all the money that I needed to use for this concert, and they didn't tell me. So they came here and lied, and then all of a sudden I'm opening my doors and there's no money. So I had to go on Rap City and apologize to the people that Rap City was associated with this concert right here at the top. So it was one of the most lowest points in my career promoting concerts.
Was Common Sense the old name in common?
Yes, yes. Yeah. So I'll just quickly finish again. Public Enemy did them 4 times in concert. Ice Cube, again, that's a flyer with Yo-Yo. There's a special ed flyer as we were making it. You can see here Wild Expressions, KGB, Exact Wisdom. These were 3 groups that I had managed at the time. These girls really sucked. It's only because they were pretty, you know. They were awful. The guys at Beat Factory used to laugh at me because they knew that I was dealing with garbage quality, but they seduced me with their aura. Like, I love women, and kept working with these girls, but they were so bad. One girl couldn't sing, the other girls couldn't rap. It was awful. But yeah, and I had contracts for them too. Can you believe that? Thanks to Ivan Barry's lawyer again. Yeah, Ice-T, Maestro Fresh West. Big up Kevin. Anyone know Ice? Kevin Ice? Right. I'll give Ice the compliment of being the only guy during the whole stages of our old school hip hop that was into West Coast music. He's the only one. Everyone else hated it. He used to bully us too. Did he? Yeah. So, you know, it's funny. It's funny. That's Ice. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. Let me just click until I'm done here. Public Enemy. Okay, we've seen those. Eric B. and Rakim, we got to look at that one just for a second. Proud of that one, 1987. And Biz Markie. Okay, and I think that's it. Oh, yeah, this is the one I did in America. My only show in Niagara Falls, America. America is not really, or I should say Buffalo is not a good place to do concerts. And this one here was going to be a huge show for me. Big Daddy Kane, Rob Bass, Easy Rock, The Alliance, MC Light, Mishi Me, and LL Cool J. Why didn't I do this show? Anyone know what happened? This is very good historical information. Okay, so this venue is Astrolite. Astrolite mysteriously one day caught a fire and burnt down. And you know the real story there. The very first business check I ever wrote was to Astrolite for $5,000. And after they got my money, the venue burnt down. And I got $1,500 back out of that $500 from the insurance. I got ripped off pretty bad by those guys. So no love for them. And this is the last one I'll show you. This is the last one. I wanted to be the very first concert promoter in Canada to do an official hip-hop concert tour. I got my parents to get me a loan for $75,000, and they were able to pull it off. It was really a mortgage disguised as a loan, which punished me for years because I had to pay that money back the way you would pay a mortgage back. But I was able to pull it off. Run DMC, EPMD, Public Enemy in concert. So that was a really good show. I liked it. Again, there was about 3,200 people there, but 3,200 of them were white people. So that's it. I'm done with my little show here. Again, it's a little non-traditional. I know I'm supposed to be a keynote speaker, but I thought this would be a little more entertaining. I'm a person that's easy accessible. I always answer my phone every day. It's part of what I do. You know, I talk to people, I network with people. So if you guys have questions that you weren't able to ask here and you want to get a hold of me, I'm on all the social media. DJ Ron Nelson, Instagram, djronnelson@gmail.com. You know what I mean? I'm very easy to find. Reggaemania.com is my website. And with that, if anyone has any questions now, I don't know how much time we have, but I'm sorry for mismanaging the time. Yes.
Do I need to use a mic or just speak?
I think we can all hear in the room.
So yeah, firstly,
Okay, there's a mic, he said, so you don't have to lose your rapping voice.
So salute, big up for all your contributions as an OG. Kind of cliche question, but if there's a particular song, artist, moment, movie that introduced you to hip hop culture, like what made you fall in love with hip hop culture?
Made me fall in love with it. Just being young and naive, and I believe being a person of West Indian descent meant that there is something in me just ready to receive what urban music has to offer. So I think Curtis Blow was one of the first people that I enjoyed watching and listening to. And I was a DJ back then, so I used to play funk music, and it was just a natural transition, man. I felt that rap was significant, and I was drawn to it, and I loved it. And I started rapping, and again, you don't have to be a good rapper to rap, but if you feel the music, then that's just how you're responding, and that's what happened to me. I just fell in love with it, just like some of you guys here.
Cool. Thank you.
No problem. No more questions? I'll give you a minute. I know I got more questions. Clifton.
I remember, man, when
I'm worried about this man, okay? I'm worried about this man.
Me too. Me too. Congratulations, man.
Thank you, sir.
I remember when you got the Urban Awards and jumped all over Denham Jolly that night.
Yeah, I made Denim Jolly walk out,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Left his phone too. He had sent his woman back. To
Yes, he
pick the
did.
phone
He did.
up. Excellent work over the last number of years, man.
Thank you.
Really gratified to have you and the crew at CKLN back in the basement there. I remember there were those Saturdays where you ended up being Reverend Ron. In terms of you used to give these 2-3 hour sermons at times, especially after some shit would go down.
Yeah.
How were you thrust into the role of being maybe not just entrepreneur, hip hop, but also social activist in some degree?
I wasn't thrust into a role. I'm just a person who is not totally desensitized, and I get that from, again, my mom. My mom sometimes goes to funerals for people she doesn't even know because she gets caught up in the whole story and grieves in her heart. And most of the people we know today would never do that. We're totally desensitized as a community because every day we watch TV, somebody's getting shot or murdered, and it's getting closer to home because it's a big city that we live in. When Clinton Marshall got murdered, it made me feel something in my heart. I felt a sense of sorrow and sadness, and it was only natural at that point in time to use the radio show as a tool for healing. That's what community radio is supposed to be. It's supposed to be able to make a difference in people's lives the way that commercial radio cannot, because commercial radio could not do the things that we were able to do at that point. So I took it upon myself to call this man's mother and to say, I'm sorry, let us do something for you as a community. Can you come down to the radio station in 2 weeks? Can you get the pastor who was at the funeral and who spoke so lovely to also come down to the radio station? Can you come down to the radio station? And I ended up being there, kind of just being in the center of it all. And in the end, it turns out to be a good thing. And it came from the heart. It just came from giving a shit, basically, and not being totally desensitized to our own black brothers and sisters getting gunned down or beat down, whatever the situation may be. I'll also credit Public Enemy because in high school, I was a person without my culture. And eventually, because of hip hop, I did what Public Enemy intended. You know, it made me open up a book, literally, and look back into myself and where I came from. And even though it was somewhat controversial, if you guys actually listened to the Fantastic Voyage program, there was a stage where I didn't just play music, but I was playing Farrakhan cassettes. Farrakhan is controversial. You know, some of the things he said, some of what he stood for, but I was so caught up into Public Enemy's message and their association with Minister Farrakhan that I said, look, you know what? Maybe doing some things like this will get black people to look into themselves and look into where they're going and look into finding a direction or finding a meaning. And that's why I did it. It's just something, Clifton, that comes naturally. And I still care the same way today. If I could help make a difference and help heal, and I have a tool like a radio station there, then you're supposed to be an innovative thinker and think about how you can use that medium to help make a difference to people's lives in the world. I was an opportunist to some degree, but I believe that's what community radio is good for. You can do things that you can't do in commercial radios.
Ron,
Question?
do we have any idea who the first sound system out of Toronto was?
When you say out of Toronto, no, that one would be very hard to chart because you have to break it down to the first successful, the first to make impact in terms of sound systems. There were so many back in the days. I don't know. There was Donovan, there was the Doc, there was Maceo. Later on came the Schick. I'm not sure at what point Sunshine was born. There sounds like Tempo, who go back, if you want to talk reggae as well, then we'd have to look into that. That's a good question that I think should be answered.
I think when it comes down to it, it's more on the reggae side first, because the influence was pretty much the sound systems from each neighborhood.
True.
So I would say a lot of it got their big start from Stereograph, which is out of Jane and Finch. And as far as sounds hooking up, it would be Maceo. Maceo was Masonic Temple in the basement.
I used to go.
Okay, and from there, Maceo and Warren from Sunshine was really good friends. Later on, Donovan Sound Crew come, Kilowatt came from the West.
Donovan, yeah.
Right? We had TKO, we had like Schick Dynasty, Powerhouse from Jane and Finch.
Yeah, that's when I came around because I never really did business with the Donovans and the Maceos and the Docs and
don't forget
all those
me,
guys and yourself, you know.
Powerhouse Sound Crew.
Powerhouse.
Right? So as far
I keep
as,
forgetting your Powerhouse, but yeah.
you see, that's the thing about the history, because there's people what came from a sound system, what went into radio, and then turned into like mobile DJs.
True.
And a lot of people, you're a good branch between the mobile DJs and bringing that to the forefront. It just kind of, the evolution of that is the generation next, like the DJ X's and all of the other people what was coming up after that. And then, you know, like us at CIUT, you know, we started Soul Controllers with Power and stuff like that. Then we have the Stray Dogs, we have the Elite Squads, we have like all of these.
And radio
different things.
certifies it all too.
Yes,
That's what I
radio
mean.
brought that together,
Yeah.
so.
Radio gives it its credibility, community radio again, since we're talking about community radio, right?
Yeah, but about the sound system, that's pretty much right now we're looking into that because that is the original tastemakers.
Yes.
Before
well,
Ron
before
Nelson.
before hip hop,
Yes.
there was reggae.
Yes.
and there was a sound system, and hip hop borrowed from it. We know the history. Kool Herc was a guy in Jamaica, but he came up here still as a kid. People misinterpret that whole thing. He wasn't this adult engineer with all this technical experience, but he had seen, he had experienced, and it was in his DNA. So he just had to kind of bring that back to another territory. Anybody else? Any more questions? 'Cause
Yeah, Ron,
I'm sorry for taking so much time.
Oh, it's. I think I speak for everyone. It's absolutely fabulous. I hosted an all rap radio show in Vancouver from 1989 to 1991 at CITR at UBC, and in that first year, I had trouble meeting my CanCon quotient. And I was wondering if that was an issue that you had to deal with or struggled with, and if you did, how did you get around it?
Thanks for reminding me about all those days. So what he means by that, by people who are not in radio, is that in Canada, radio is governed by the CRTC, and they, for the sake of trying to promote Canadian, they force, not a better word, they force broadcasters or radio stations over a 24-hour period to play a certain percentage per hour of Canadian music, which means the music has to be produced here or it has to feature Canadian artists, made in Canada. They have that MAPL stuff. And in the beginning, it was so hard. We used to try and cheat all the time to play Canadian. The Canadian music was like, that's when people would turn off the radio because you're playing Canadian stuff. Who wants to do that? The quality was crap. The reason why the quality was crap is because, again, there weren't anybody here who knew how to make a good hip-hop sounding demo. The engineers here were used to producing rock. You don't produce rock the same way you produce black music. You have to cheat. You have to do different things and tweak different things, different ways to get the sounds that we do. So it was so difficult to find content. I think some of what we did is we use unpublished material to make up for some of the Canadian stuff, so stuff that wasn't registered with SOCAN, rappers freestyling at home, or a recording of something local or Canadian. But when we did play the Canadian stuff, yeah, it's bringing back memories of stuff that just didn't belong because it would be the weakest part of your whole entire... It sounds like I'm saying something mean, but that's actually a good question if you want to trace the advancement of the whole scene itself. It hurt back then. And I'm trying to give love to my Canadian artists. That's why people like Mishi and Maestro and Rumble stands out, because they were some of the cream of the crops. But if my boy comes down, he's got all this passion and enthusiasm, and he's got his demo, as a community radio station, you're supposed to take the hit and play that anyway, because guess what? That might make such a big difference in that person's life. Even if that first demo is not good, being on the radio back then was the most exciting thing for an artist or a sound. That's where you can bust. So even if your stuff isn't that good, guess what? Your friends and your people are gonna say, yo, man, I heard your stuff on the radio. And then it gives you an opportunity to get better. So it was good. The CRTC, it's an ill thing that they force broadcasters to do, but I think it has a good purpose, because it can kind of allow you to get away from your prejudice as a selector or as a programmer, and you have to play stuff sometimes that you don't necessarily like, but guess what? Other people may like it, you know? So you have to give that a chance sometimes. But good question. I like that. I like questions that make me think Anyone else have another one like that?
From being surrounded by such like really big names and whatnot during your time, do you have any suggestions for new artists coming up, or anything that you could suggest that you've seen others artists have done or failed at or succeeded at that we can actually learn from now?
For new artists coming up, do I have any suggestions? I mean, my only suggestion is to have a work ethic that exceeds your competition. I believe hard work can get you success. Because like I said, nobody branded Ron Nelson Productions. We only did it because of hard work, and we outworked anybody else that was trying to. When I started doing that stuff, Sunshine was running the streets. And the only advantage I had over them was being on the radio. But I had to promote the streets in order to get that same respectability. So if you're an artist, outwork your next person. Literally, just if you have the skills already, in life, you know, it's hard to balance things. If you've got a girl who's giving you trouble, you got a full-time job, you think you might be losing it, you want to go back to school, take a course, money is a bit of a problem, whatever. It's hard sometimes to focus on being an artist and still keep it in you to have the drive to not be stopped and to conquer. But that's my vision, is that if you work hard, you will become successful. And that's been my motto for a long time. I used to say, be happy, optimistic, and work hard, and you'll be successful. And I started fake smiling and fake happiness, and the optimism became actually a reality, and it makes a difference. Just don't be lazy. In Canada, it's easy to accept being second, okay? If you go to America, they'll kick your ass. You cannot have that work aptitude that some of us have here, where we can sit back and smoke our blunts and drink our whatever and, you know, go into the studio and think it's all that. You need to actually approach things from a business point of view. And I would also suggest you surround yourself with, it's one of the mistakes I made. Like I said, I remember the concert hall owner's wife. She sat down with me and said, Ron, you have to do your taxes. And I said, what's that? And when she tried doing them, it was such a big, tangly mess. I had spent hundreds of thousands of, I didn't even know I spent that much money. I was just a kid doing what I was doing. And looking back, I could have saved a hell of a lot of money if I had a bookkeeper mindset around me, or someone who was an accountant, or a big brother who says, Ron, I've been there before. I know what you're doing. Let me help you. So if you're an artist and you outwork your competition and you have good people around you to offer you guidance, doesn't have to be a manager. It could just be someone just with a little more experience than you. Use those things to help you. Anything else?
Hi. So I'm in Laurie Beckstead's radio broadcasting course right now. And for that course, we have to like create a radio station. And I decided to do with my group a hip hop radio station, just because there's no hip hop radio station that's like big in Toronto right now. So we had Flow before. Why do you think the format of Flow didn't succeed?
You want to open up that can of worms?
Yeah. Yeah. Whoever needs to.
You believe that, Clifton? Well, Flo,
not to offend anyone. Not to offend
Mark,
anyone.
you should have scheduled more time. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to.
Yeah. Okay, so. Yeah, I don't understand the relevance. Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. All I can say though is that you know, Flo got sold and it made money, right?
Yeah.
So good for the person that owned Flo, right? He wanted to make money.
Yeah.
I'm in this not just to make money. I'm in this because I want to help my people. I want to help my culture. I'm not going to be lying about it. I'm going to be telling the truth about it. But a lot of people, that's what defines success. It's just money. The only thing that pissed me off about Flo, do you remember the very first song they played? It was a friggin' reggae song. Why the hell did they do that to me? Because as soon as they played that one song, they got rid of everything reggae and started playing that sellout stuff. So anyway, I made Denim Jolly get up and walk out. And I think from that day, he blacklisted me from commercial radio. I can't prove it. But that's what happens when you're outspoken like I'm the most outspoken broadcaster in the history of non-commercial radio. I say things, I don't care if it pisses anybody off. I do it uncensored, I tell the truth. That's been responsible, I think, for my success as well as my downfall, maybe. But I say it how I see it because I don't have to kiss ass anybody. I'm not asking you to give me a job or I don't have to keep a job anywhere because of me telling the truth and having to be worried about it. So maybe 2 more questions then, out of respect for having to move on to the next panel. I'll try and keep the answers short. If we have any more questions, I'll take 2 more. If you've never asked a question before, maybe it's a good opportunity. If there are no more questions, then we can just call it a day. Okay, so Mark? Thank you.